Welcome to Weather or Not, sponsored by TD Bank. I'm WABC Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg. In this episode of Weather or Not, we'll tackle the weather for the rest of April, see if we can get any of that beautiful warmth we experienced earlier in the week. It was actually more of a June preview. Or are we going to be stuck in more of a seasonable pattern? And how about soaking rains? Do we get a break from that? It would be nice to see the water table drop a little bit. And then we'll look at the pattern into May and see how things are looking for the rest of spring. Talk about my eclipse adventure, a little recap on that. It was just spectacular as we ended up in Burlington, Vermont. And thank you to many of you for following that adventure and some other celestial events that are coming up on the calendar. All right, let's start with our weather, which has taken a dramatic turn. Basically, we are seeing a June preview and a March rewind separated by about 72 hours. We hit 82 on Monday, some 20 degrees above average, and then we're just stepping it down 10 degrees a day. By the time we bottom out on Thursday, you're looking at temperatures that are only in the upper 40s, so more of a mid-March rewind and rain and drizzle. The good news is we're not talking about a super soaker, but you need the umbrella and you need the layers if you're headed out. The steadiest rain is actually coming during the overnight hours, Wednesday night into Thursday morning. There are some downpours that are the leftovers of some severe weather that was moving through the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley with numerous tornado warnings and damage reports. That's the same system that brought 17 tornado reports across parts of Iowa. In fact, there was a big wedge tornado across southeastern Iowa on Tuesday night. So we're watching what's left over of those. Thankfully, as they move in to more of a marine air mass that's over our area with the easterly winds that have come in, that stabilizes things. So if there's a thunderstorm, it's elevated. You basically just get a downpour and you really don't even transfer the big strong winds down. So there's a few downpours that are scattered about during the overnight hours. Since March 1st, we've had over a foot of rain. It's basically double the normal rainfall. So we could use a drier stretch. And the good news is outside of those scattered downpours, which in a spot or two could maybe drop up to a half inch of rainfall or a little bit more, which is favored more over the Hudson Valley, maybe over eastern Long Island, with some of the leftovers by morning. We're not looking for major rainfall totals where we see flooding or a lot of standing water. It's just wet roads, lower visibility, slowing travel, but nothing too serious as we go through the overnight. Just looking forward, through the end of the month into early May, precipitation looks slightly below normal to near normal. So I like the idea of not seeing big soakers, and most of the rain is more focused on the western two-thirds of the country. But the fact is that we're not getting a tremendous amount of warm air flooding in. So our numbers, our high temperatures are going to be below normal to kind of seasonable with no real toasty days like we saw earlier in the week. So I don't see a lot of 70s over the next 10 days. Maybe there's a shot on Saturday if we clear out early enough. Interior parts of New Jersey make a run at 70. But for the most part, you're looking at 60s, which is just really nice spring weather. Did want to comment on those scattered downpours. They're mainly during the overnight hours. They're likely gone by dawn, which is good news, but you're likely going to have a wet Thursday morning commute. Visibilities, while there's not a lot of dense fog, there'll be areas of fog. The wind will be freshening, some gusts out of the east-northeast at about 25 miles an hour, so not pleasant. So have the raincoat, layers underneath, and hold tight in that umbrella. Through the day, it's just kind of light rain and drizzle, and I don't think we're really going to even reach 50 in many spots during the day. It's going to stay in the 40s for much of the day. On Friday, that low, which basically this is why we're enhancing some of the rainfalls, there's a low forming offshore, will drift away, and we're kind of nestled in between that and an approaching cold front. So much of the day is actually just mostly cloudy. There's high pressure off the New England coast that's going to try to push some dry air in here to at least lift the cloud ceiling up so it has a brighter appearance to you. Maybe some breaks in the clouds, especially over Connecticut and Long Island. A good chunk of the day is dry, but have the umbrella for your Friday late afternoon and evening plans as a shower may come in. That cold front tries to move through Saturday morning, but there's a low that forms along that front, a wave of low pressure that could slow down the clouds and the showers on Saturday morning. So it might be more of a transitional day where the afternoon gets brighter and nicer and temperatures respond and get into the 60s. And in fact, I think Sunday actually looks like a nice day. Earlier in the week, if you were watching, it looked like Sunday was a little iffy with the idea that there might be some rain that develops, but that rain has been trending farther south, and I think it's really Carolinas in southeast U.S. rather than us, and we just have some high clouds that are filtering the sunshine at times. And we should have some really nice spring weather into early next week. Seasonable in the low 60s and fair amount of sunshine. There will be some high clouds that move in on Tuesday. The next chance of rain is Tuesday night into Wednesday. That does not look that significant, probably less than a tenth of an inch of rain rainfall. We'll have to see if that looks any more robust as we get closer, but not that concerned about any soaking rains, which is good news given all the rain we've had. We will get the drought report out tomorrow on Thursday. And listen, that's something we'll follow throughout the season. But obviously, we have no concerns about our water supply, our water levels, our soil water content, no problems there. So as we go into spring and we go into higher consumption season and you see all your flowers and beautiful plants and shrubs and bushes are coming in, everything's got plenty of water to work on. You can see how lush probably many of your yards are. I just spent an evening in Central Park at Sheep Meadow the other night, and it was just incredible. It looks so beautiful. And the city, it smells so good with everything blooming about. So it's really going to be spectacular here after we get past tomorrow and especially into the upcoming weekend. One thing I did want to mention is we are going to start looking to NOAA and see what their hurricane forecast looks like as we head closer to the beginning of hurricane season on June 1st. We got the very famous hurricane forecast from the studies at Colorado State University, and no surprise there, well above normal season expected, one of the higher number of named storms that they've ever forecast, somewhere in the mid-20s. So that's no surprise there. We're leaving in El Nino, likely going into La Nina. Our sea surface temperatures are well above average, so we are very concerned about a super active hurricane season. We can't tell you what that means for landfall just yet. We're going to get a little bit more insight. We'll see when the NOAA and the Hurricane Center gives its input as we go through the next month or so. One thing that I will say that at least in the main development region of the Atlantic, at least early on, because remember, we've had so many times in the last few years we've had May storms, is that there is a huge plume of Saharan dust that has gone into the main development region of the tropical Atlantic. And that's actually tended to cool sea surface temperatures, and there's also been a little upwelling too. So that's good news. I mean, temperatures will still be running well above average, but at least that's something to maybe tamp down the early part of the season. We hope that would be nice to see that last. Of course, that comes at the cost of some storminess over Africa, but at least in terms of the tropical Atlantic, maybe it's something that stunts the initial part of the season. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but at least it's something because there are very few factors that would argue against a very active season. Back to the eclipse, had an amazing adventure that I would highly recommend that. We had a great experience where I went up to Syracuse, which is in the path of totality, but when I was there on Sunday leading into the eclipse, my cloud forecast was for 70% cloud cover, so I said, I might be able to see it in between a hole in the overcast, but I want to guarantee things. So we hustled to Albany Sunday night, and then early in the morning hours on Monday, hightailed it up to Burlington, Vermont, got a great location where ABC News was also filming their special. It was the Echo Nature Center right on Lake Champlain. Fabulous place to take the family and some great exhibits. A lot of the kids were having fun there that day. And we were right on their terrace next to the waterfront park there at Burlington. And it was just, outstanding. We had a little high cloudiness, but when it started to get dark over the Adirondacks and you could see that umbra, the darkest shadow of the moon just flying across the hillside at about 1,800 miles an hour. It was incredible, and everything that it was billed really came true and more. It almost looked like a dreamscape by the time it arrived here. During the afternoon hours, and that time of totality, it's like you're looking at it and you see, well, it's 90% in New York, and yes, that's impressive, and it gets dark, and it's special, and it's definitely great to observe. But when you get into totality and you see the corona of that sun, and we happen to see a solar flare, it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and maybe I become an eclipse chaser after that, but really spectacular. Totally recommend it. And in the years to come, we have a little while to wait here in New York for a total solar eclipse. There is one in 2026, but that's over the Arctic Ocean, Greenland, Iceland, Portugal, northern Spain. There's another one in 2027. That's over Africa and Europe and the Middle East. And we have to wait till 2044 to see a total solar eclipse over the U.S., and it's only a little piece of the U.S., whereas this one was going all the way from Texas to Maine. The next one in 2044 just clips Montana and parts of the Dakotas. There is one in 2079, and New York is actually in the path of totality in 2079. I don't have a forecast for that just yet. Okay, the Lyrid meteor shower, by the way, coming up. Let me just check my notes here. So that is going to peak early next week. Unfortunately, we are headed toward a full pink moon early next week, so you'd like to try to wait till after moonset, but the best viewing would be in the pre-dawn hours. But the Lyrid meteor shower, known for its bright and fast meteors, there aren't as many fireballs. By the way, we've had some fireballs as of late that's been seen over parts of our northern and western suburbs. NASA says that is not the early part of the Lyrids, just some what they call sporadic meteors coming through, but exciting to see those. So much going on, whether it be subterranean or in space. But so Lyrid meteor shower goes through the 29th, but will peak on the 22nd and 23rd. One other note, just talking about the long-range pattern to end April, there's a lot of warm air that's going to be building in the western and the middle part of the country, but we still continue to get these cold pockets of air that are coming down from the northwest in Canada. We don't get the core of the cold, but they go over eastern Canada and into New England, and that kind of cuts off the warm air at the pass, so it only allows us to be kind of seasonable for the rest of the month. I did see a sign that maybe after the 2nd or 3rd of May, there might be a surge of some really warm air, but I don't see anything particularly hot, so I don't see a return of 80s like we had that nice little summer preview earlier this week. So that's my thoughts right now. Again, good news in terms of avoiding some soakers going forward, which will give us some nice time to dry out. We will continue to forecast the weather pattern and show it to you on our AccuWeather forecast day by day. But in the meantime, that is the latest episode of Whether or Not. Thanks, as always, for listening, and we'll talk to you next time, rain or shine.